Occam's razor.
Occam's razor, eh? That classical philosophical tool misused by morons all the time, when they think that because the thing they believe is simplistic, idiotic gibberish, that means it must be true. But unfortunately, that is not actually how it works, especially when it comes to flat earth shit. I mean, sure, your lot's ideas revolve around a largely, incredibly basic idea, earth and flat because it looks flat, but most correct ideas have something else to go with their simplicity. You know, actual depth, a concept flirfs are entirely unfamiliar with, as demonstrated by them thinking they can end science in less than 3 goddamn minutes.
States that the simplest explanation is probably the correct explanation.
Well, for starters, it entirely depends on the situation. I mean, you said it yourself. Probably. That doesn't mean 100% of the time definitely for real, though. It means there's a good chance, perhaps, but also a simple explanation isn't the same thing as an easy one. Something that's not difficult to wrap your head around isn't the same as a simple explanation. Sometimes the easy explanation isn't simple at all and requires so many caveats that turn it into an extremely complicated explanation, at least to anyone who bothers to actually, think about it.
So let's see how that applies to a globe ball 24-hour time zone map.
I don't know why that was so funny. I just didn't expect you to come out with map. I guess I thought it was going to be like Earth or the world or something, but no, it's a map of it. Something that BT dubs is a human creation based on our understanding of the planet. Also, it's a projection map at that, so it doesn't reflect the space as it actually is. How's something that people who understand the shape of the planet way better than you do and fucking accounted for it is going to somehow destroy the globe? I have no idea, but I'm sure it won't be completely fucking idiotic. No.
If anyone was to Google world time zones,
they would find all the secrets of the Alubi Booby, right? I mean, those guys who run the world for nefarious reasons are so bad at hiding their secrets. I mean, it's almost like they don't have any, and this is all bullshit based on your own massive ignorance that makes you sound like a fucking idiot whenever you state it out loud for other people to hear.
They would find only flat maps describing the 24-hour time zones of the Earth.
Only flat maps? That must mean something. Well, it couldn't be that in a medium like the internet or, fucking books, that being able to display all the time zones at once only really works with a flat projection map. No. It's because they want us to know that it's actually truly flat. For no reason. I mean, that's how you hide things, isn't it? You don't do something stupid like only ever show it on a 3D shape that you have to spin to look at from all angles, and that again would be impossible to put in a fucking book. You put it in plain sight all the time and have an extremely robust and factual explanation as to why the Earth isn't fucking flat to go with it. That's what real sneakers do.
And if you scroll down, you see nothing but flat Earth maps. Isn't that interesting?
Not really. In fact, it's entirely what I would expect if I wasn't suffering from the kind of brain rot it takes in order to become a flat earther. But if I were, I would see this thing, that's obviously how it would work, and think it proves whatever stupid shit I want it to, without actually bothering to figure out why it is the way that it is. That's basically how all conspiracy theorists work. They see something normal, shout, "Isn't that interesting?" and then assume that they were right all along. It's fucking asinine.
Now, if we were to maybe say, well, maybe it's global world time zones.
We don't have to do that. We know where the time zones are. They're on the planet Earth, which is, a fucking globe. But that is what they are. The word we use for it is fucking irrelevant. The shape of the maps we use to show it doesn't change that fact either. I mean, if all it takes is a word to get you to believe something, well, that might explain why you believe really stupid things. I could just say cabbage, and then suddenly you believe the world is in fact a giant fucking cabbage, being chased through the void by a rabbit named Timonth, desperately trying to eat it all. And that would be ridiculous, right? Ignore that.
Again, all we see are flat maps.
And when we search for world's most intelligent flat earthers, all we see are flat brains. People with brains so smooth that they actually resemble the pancake that they think that the earth is. I mean, seriously, don't you find it weird that the only thing that flat earthers ever do is complain about the fact that they don't understand how reality works? Because if they did, if you had the insight that you think you had, you should be able to make shit that should show us all to be the children stumbling in the dark that you think we are. So advanced your understanding of science and reality that the rest of us wouldn't stand a chance. But none of you fucking do anything. And yet the people who actually get the facts, they make all sorts of cool shit. I wonder why that is.
Here's a time zone map of the world, all right? It's on a flat map. And if we scroll down a little further, they show a cute little clock.
You know what's hilarious, apart from everything he says? He seems to think that there's no way to show time zones on a globe. So they have to do it like this because time zones only make sense on the flat map, I guess. But no, there's actual 3D globe maps that show time zones. They are real and they are not that helpful, in my humble and sexy opinion, since you can't look at the whole thing all at once. Whereas if you stretch it out and flatten it, then you can. But that doesn't mean that it's not a three-dimensional shape. In fact, the Occam's razor in this case is that the reason it's on a flat map is because it's easier to understand, not because it's more accurate that way.
That can only work on a flat Earth.
Wrong. Just utterly wrong. It works absolutely fine on a sphere. Just because you are too stupid or just too plain stubborn to comprehend such a thing doesn't change anything. In fact, the fact that these are projection maps shows that time zones don't truly work on a flat map, because the shapes of every single country on that thing are wrong, from slightly wrong to wildly incorrect. We know the shapes of these things, and this ain't it, buddy. And that's not to mention that regardless of all that, using these man-made lines that effectively mean nothing outside of the meaning that we have given them will never prove anything other than those are what we decided time zones are.
So here is just proof evidence conclusively.
You think this shit, the fact that you googled fucking time zones, that is conclusive evidence of anything other than you don't know how to do anything even resembling research? I mean, this is just it, isn't it? These are the people who tell you to do your own research, and then this is the kind of thing that is enough for them to come to an incredibly stupid fucking conclusion. I would say that all of them should be embarrassed that this is acceptable to them, but being embarrassed would require them to have the self-awareness required to understand how fucking wrong they are. And I'm not convinced that that's even a possibility at this point.
That we do not live on a round spinning ball hurtling through space.
No, of course not. We live on some pizza hurtling through space, or a stationary platform, or some infinite plane that makes no fucking sense, or any of the other obscenely stupid ideas that flat earthers have posited without a shred of fucking evidence. It has to be one of them. It can't possibly be that it is what it actually is, that is easily demonstrated, and the only idea that is consistent with all observations about the planet that we live on. It can't be that, because then how am I supposed to be the guy who knows things? Well, ironically knowing less than nothing.
At thousands of miles per second and all the rest of the rubbish that we've been told and sold over.
Your incredulity does not equal information. The fact that you have had the facts about how the world is and functions doesn't make them wrong. This idea that if it's what you are told, then it must be incorrect is the leading cause of stupidity in this day and age. And no, I'm not saying trust everything that the government says. What I'm saying is, just because you don't doesn't mean you should immediately think that the opposite is true. And certainly don't just believe some random jackass on the internet for no other reason than, well, basically because they're wrong, they must be right. That is the stupidest shit you can do. What you should do if you don't trust things is to actually learn about them and what they say and why things are certain ways. Then you might understand the reasons for it instead of assuming you are right and thinking every little thing you don't understand is more proof for your dumbass ideology.
So many decades.
Can you imagine having apparently decades of explanation, education, and understanding that instead of knowing how fucking anything works, you end up walking away knowing less than a goddamn 5-year-old barely having started school? I don't know if this is something that has always been the case. I mean, I guess lunatics and idiots have, of course, always existed, but the internet, the thing that gave us all access to more information in one place than any other moment in history, has somehow managed to make a select group of people even dumber than they could have possibly been. It's like the inverse square law of stupid. And no, I don't care, that makes no fucking sense. Neither do flat earthers.
So here I just took an orange representing the round ball global Earth.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I am honestly super impressed. This fluff actually managed to not only spot and recognize an orange, but he also managed to purchase one without slamming to the ground and exploding into chunks of bloody viscera. Will his skills never cease to amaze? Next you're gonna tell me he even knows how to operate a shirt.
And I divided it into 24 sections.
I mean, Paulie, you didn't even do a straight line along the middle. And look at those sections. They aren't even, even. I really expected god tier level crayon skills from you, and all I got was this lousy abomination. I'm starting to think this guy's not very competent for some reason.
24 sections at the equator, which represents the 24 time zones on Earth, 1 hour at a time.
I'm not going to lie, this is exactly the level of demonstration that I expect from a flat earther. I mean, why learn to use some basic 3D rendering tools or grab some crafting materials and accurate measuring equipment when you can get an orange and a Sharpie and make what would have looked like shit if a first grader had made it, let alone a grown goddamn man? Although, very smart making it out of food. I mean, we all know it isn't real science unless you can eat it. I mean, look at this stuff. Delicious.
So this is the exact same orange. I drew the lines of 24 sections around a round ball Earth and drew them up to the North Pole.
Okay, good job, buddy. I don't know what you think this is going to prove, but you know what? At least you did something. I mean it. The amount of flat earthers who just sit there at their desks or phones and pontificate about how they're right about everything all the time, except without attempting to demonstrate why they believe the way they do. It really does make you a rare case. I mean, it's ultimately going to make you look even dumber, but that's the risk when you choose to get your hands dirty. You are more than likely going to end up covered in shit.
And my simple question...
It's going to be a good one, isn't it? Let's have a guess. Is it, if the Earth is a globe, why did I do this completely asinine thing? Surely the only reason anyone would possibly do something this completely pointless would be because they have the biggest brain of all peoples, right? That's how doing dumb shit works, isn't it?
For everybody believes we live in a heliocentric round ball Earth.
Live in a round ball Earth? I think you are thinking of the hollow earthers, dude, and they believe some of the fucking wildest shit I ever heard. I mean, as much as I accept that there are earnest flat earthers out there, it is a lot harder to accept most hollow earthers as being in it for anything other than the memes. Although I have lived on the internet for long enough to know at least some people are that fucking absurd that they would in fact believe something that obviously fucking stupid. Also, I don't think that they're heliocentrists, but then again, if the sun is inside the Earth, it's got to be somewhere near the middle, right?
Can you please tell me, what time is it at the North Pole?
I know he thinks he has a point here, but that's just so amazingly dumb. It's hard to know where to start. So, what time is it anywhere on that thing? You haven't actually made any time zones, and, it depends. Are you inside one of those segments of time zone? Well, then you could use that one as your current time zone because, there is no fucking time zone on the North Pole. In fact, there is no time zone anywhere because, again, they are man-made constructs that entirely stop working when you get to the absolute North Pole. But they don't need to work up there because no one fucking lives there. Not full time anyway. So it doesn't matter. And if they did, then they just need to use the same one as whoever the fuck they're living with. Time zones are not facts about reality. Just a convenient tool to let us know what time it is in any given location. The idea that you think you can prove anything with them shows you have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
As we spin around, is it 12 o'clock? Is it 2 o'clock?
Is it dumb o'clock? Why, yes it is, because that's what time it always is in Flirfton. Also, so does this mean that you think that this is actually what the flat earth looks like? Why not this one? Oh, right, then you would have the same problem as you do with the globe, since the time zones still meet in the middle. Of course, then again, it's not like flat earthers ever care if something actually makes actual sense to them.
Is it 11 a.m.? Is it 11 p.m.? Works the same on the other way if we do have a South Pole. I didn't draw the lines in, but you get the idea.
You know, it's bold of you to assume that your fellow flat earthers would get anything without it being explicitly shown to them, because they don't even get things when you do that. And second, I wish you had, because then it would look a bit like a basketball. And that would segue nicely into, behold, I found a flat basketball meme.
Simply proven, very easy to do. We do not live on a round ball, folks.
You haven't actually proven shit, simply or otherwise, and certainly not in the 3 minutes your title claimed that it would. Well, I tell a lie. You have proven that you don't understand what time zones are and what they're for, and that you assume you are correct and look for things to show it, but instead of finding anything like that, you just draw on oranges like a fucking child. Did your parents never teach you not to play with your food? This is why. It makes you look like an idiot.
It is simply impossible given the time zones.
The only impossible thing here is getting a flat earther to not be wrong about absolutely fucking everything. Damn.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the